welcome back to my channel, Margaret Knob Designs. I'm here with the design team project for Country Craft Creations. This is using the 8x8 Gentleman Fleur. I love this paper, and it was really great to use. I did a simple project because I thought it would be great for any of those men in our lives that like to save pictures but don't like to have anything that's too fussy. So I'd like to walk through with you and show you what I designed. And so on this one we're going to walk through the book, and then the tutorial will come up in the next day or two. So here we go. This is a new mini album. The front of the cover is 7.5 by, I think this is 6. 7.5 by 6, and it is a large spine. It's a 3-inch spine on here, and I wanted to show you, this is what I have left of my 8x8 collection. If you can see any of the scraps, these scraps are left. I'll show you what I had done with some of the scraps. So I have a couple more pieces that are left, but any of the pieces like this I'm throwing away. And that's all there is to it. So there's lots of those little pieces left, and without further ado, let me show you what the album looked like. So I'm going to put this down over here so we don't have a huge mess on my desk still. Again, I wanted to keep this so that the album itself was very simple. I used some gears on the front, and these are just from my stash. I wrapped the chipboard with Artisan cardstock in the burgundy, and I used the brown Artisan cardstock for double matting. Or wait, this brown is the My Colors cardstock. But I also used some of the brown Artisan cardstock in the album itself. So this album opens up, and it's, again, a very simple design. It has 6 pages in it, and so on the front cover I left that bare so that photos could be put in the front, or maybe even a sheet with written commentary on there. But then each page is designed so that there's a flap that goes up. The flap goes up and down, and this on top of here is a belly band, and in this belly band there is room for pictures or journaling, however you'd like. And on this belly band I have a photo mat in here that just tucks behind. And I also have I have my people in here. I was thinking about possibly using some of these Tim Holtz people on the front of my my photo mat. Gosh, but I hadn't really decided on that. So what I had done, because I ran out of full sheets of paper, is that I collaged all of my leftover strips onto some cardstock, the khaki cardstock, and this is my Artisan cardstock, or craft cardstock. And I put a 4x6 photo mat in here, and then a larger photo mat like that, and every one has a pocket. And then those go down like that. There also can be more photos put into these pages. And then this closes. I have 2 magnets right here on my pocket. You don't necessarily have to have two magnets, but I did it just because I thought it would lay flatter. And then this opens up, and this opens up to a back page, and I used some brads from the Tim Holtz ideology that was in my stash. I probably got these at Country Craft Creations, but I don't know that for a fact. I know that she has carried these in the past. And what I did is I used that as a spot to tuck my flap in here. So there's spot to put photos in here, photos on here, and then I put a mat on here for a 4x6 photo. And then I just used strips of the paper going around to cover the rest of that photo mat. And as I said, the rest of them are similar to that front the front flap, and here we've got again our photo mat is tucked underneath, and this is our belly band that has room inside for journaling or more photos. There's nothing to hold it closed because it stays closed when it's closed. And we've got a photo mats in here. This is the one I collaged, and that's why you see all those bits and pieces. And then on the back again, you can see I have the brad that's on there, and I put that right through the pattern paper, and then just tucked this page once again underneath, and I put just white paper down here for putting down for the photo mat. I just thought I liked the way the white looked in most of the locations, and I thought it was a little bit thinner than some of the other cardstock. So again, here I'll just open this quickly. In this spot, instead of putting a full piece, I didn't have enough to do a full piece, so I did part of the pattern paper with a strip of the Artisan cardstock. I think it looks pretty nice, and we have our flip-up belly band. We have our photo mats right down here in the pocket. Then that closes, and on the back we have the same thing again. We have our flap, and each one tucks under. So it's the same for all the rest. This one again, I used some of the burgundy cardstock, my photo mats, and our 4x6 on the back, same thing. And our gentleman there, and this goes here, and then this goes here to the back. And then in the very back of our book, we have just a piece of the paper. Can put photo right up here. We could put journaling up here. We could leave it just alone and just enjoy the paper itself. The inside covers were also double matted, and these were also with my colors brown cardstock on there. And the back of our book is plain with the beautiful papers of the collection. And what's so nice about it is that it's manly, masculine, as well as it can also be used by ladies because of the florals in here. So this is our quick tutorial and album. I think this would make a great gift. One of the things that's the best about making it is the fact that it's so easy to put together because all the cuts are the same, and you can, once you have the cut for one page, you can go ahead and design it for the next 5. So stay tuned for the tutorial coming up after this. It'll be up tomorrow or the next day, and for sure by Saturday. I will have it up for sure on Saturday. I just have to finish a couple things with it, but other than that, I just want to tell you I am going to be starting on my next project called Christmas Wishes. That'll be starting next, and then I've got another Country Craft Creations collection I will be starting as well. Thank you so much for following along with me. I so appreciate your comments and watching. Just spending the time with me means so much. Thank you, and have a great night. Hi, crafters. Well, I am so sorry. I thought I was filming when I was working on some things, and I wasn't. I have no idea what happened. So this is going to be a little bit of a different start to tutorial because a lot of what I started off doing has already been, well, it's already done. So re-recording it is not going to work per se. So first of all, we are going to be using the collection, the exclusive collection from Country Craft Creations called Gentleman Fleur. It's a gorgeous collection, and I did a walkthrough on it, not on my last design team collections, but the one before that. So take a look at that one if you would like to see what the papers look like, but otherwise follow along in this tutorial and you'll get to see all of them that I am going to be using. And I am using the 8x8 collection kit. So my mini album for this, I will put the video link down in the description down below on how to make or wrap chipboard. I'll give you all the measurements for this right now though. And this album is 6 inches by 7.5. So you're going to have to cut 2 pieces of chipboard at 6 by 7.5. And then for the spine, this is 3 inches by 6 inches. So you're going to need 2 pieces of chipboard and 1 chipboard for the spine. And the cardstock to wrap the chipboard for the covers, the cardstock is measured 2 pieces at 8 and 9.5. That's 2 pieces at 8 and 9.5. And then 1 piece of cardstock for the spine, and that is going to be 8 by 6. And the 6 inches is because this is 3 inches, and then we use 1.5 inches on this side and 1.5 inches on that side. The 8 inches is for the length because we use 1 inch down here and 1 inch up here. So that's the reason for it sounding similar to what the spine is. And then for the hinge, I will also link the video that I have about creating spines and the different kinds of spines that you can do. So this is 3 inches on this chipboard, but I took a piece of cardstock that was 5 7/8 by 12 inches. And then I scored on that 12-inch side. I'm going to give you all the scores. So we'll go ahead and give that to you now. Starting with the first score at 1 inch, then 1 1/4, 1 3/4, 2 1/4, 2 3/4, 3 1/4, 3 3/4, 4 1/4, 4 3/4, 5 1/4, 5 3/4, 6 1/4, 6 3/4, 7 1/4, 7 3/4, 8 1/4, 8 3/4, 9 1/4, and then 9 3/4, and then at 10 is the last score. And so I'm going to explain a little bit about the scoring. The scoring that I did is the 1 inch, and that comes up to where the spine, or the spine piece starts. And the 1/4 of an inch, so 1 1/4, is actually this 1/4 inch that is right here. And I wanted that to just help me see where I had the beginning of my spine. And then all of these are 1/2 inch, so which makes 1 inch for the spine, 1 inch for the spine, and 1/2 inch all the way along till we get to here again. And so the last score that we did was 9 3/4 and then 10, because I wanted that 1/4 of an inch right here. And then this actually is 12, and it goes a little bit longer. So if you really wanted to, you could cut this at 11, but I figure why waste the paper, I'll just put it in here. So that's how I did that. And that's basically our mini album. So then what I have on here is, you notice I have 6 spines. I also mitered the edges of all those spines along in there. I glued it in. I also did a lot of scoring back and forth to try to make this very movable. Using the Artisan burgundy cardstock is the best cardstock. I love my Artisan. So that's how that is put together. So the pages, what I wanted to do was I wanted to put the pages together so that they were, they're all primarily going to be the same. So how this is put together is I cut 6 pieces of 7 1/4 by 6 7/8. And then you're going to score at 1/2 inch on both long sides. So what happens then is that your page here, this part of your page, is 5 7/8. So adding 1 inch on is 6 7/8, so that I can get a hinge for this side here and a hinge for this side here. And what I did then is I mitered the edges of those, so when I put the cardstock on the back here, then I can cover that over. And the reason for doing it this way is that my pieces, this flat piece in here, will sit in this hinge and this hinge a little bit better. So I glued all of these down, and then I was going to work on putting the pages together. This flat piece of the page is, which I call the flat page, is 7 1/4 by 5 7/8. And I say that with a sliver off. So the 5 7/8 here is really 5 and, let me just think, 7/8, 13 sixteenths. No, wait, 7/8, 14 sixteenths. So 13 sixteenths. So it's easier just to say, cut this at 5 7/8, but when you cut it, go over 1/16 of an inch. Just a sliver, because that way it sits well underneath these hinges here. So again, this flat piece is 7 1/4 by 5 7/8, and there is no scoring on that piece. And what you're going to do is you are going to make 6 of these pages, because one end of this is going to fit on your hinge, and the other side will be set up for like a card or something to slide in. This is not the right size, but I just was playing with that. And so, of course, once I stopped recording, I was working on my pages. So I'm still not done. I've got to go and do a few more things. But basically, what the page is going to look like is we are going to have this, there'll be a flap here, a flap, a flap here, and I used the my corner rounder from Catamaru Pro. I love this corner rounder, and I used the large rounding side for on the ends of these flaps, not flops. And I'm also going to be putting a pocket in down here for going over there. And then as the page turns, I have another flap over on this side, and I use the medium round on that. I'm not 100% sure if I may be putting another flap on this side. I haven't finished that yet, but I will come back just as soon as I get the rest of this page built, and then we can look at it on how we're going to build the rest of the pages. So I'm going to check off right now, and I will be back in just a couple seconds for you anyways. Thanks so much. I'll be back in a minute. Hey crafters, so I'm going to walk through with you on how I'm going to do this page. Every page, like I said, is going to look the same, and I'm going to have a flap here with a pocket here. So I got glue here, I was putting that on wrong. And then on the other side of the page, we're going to have a flap on this side. One of the things that I want to do with that, now it's totally up to you. You can use a brad, or you can use a button, or you can use a tab. I'm going to use this brad from an Ideology to hold down my flap. So the flap will just go back in underneath here. And this tab is going, or this brad is going to go on my pattern paper, and this will fit right underneath there. So that's how I'm going to hold that down. In here, I am going to put probably 2 smaller magnets right down into here, and that'll hold that down, and then that'll go, we'll put that in. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put the rest of these together. I'm going to show you how to do one of them that I did, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of them put together. So I have got my flaps and everything all together. So this is the front flap. This is the front of the pocket, and this front flap is actually going to go over the top. I wanted to do it that way. I felt like I was going to get a better fit. And again, I'm going to miter the edges on this. So that it will not be in the way of our pattern paper. And just make sure that if you've used your Artisan cardstock, it can withstand the scoring being a little bit tougher on it so that you can flatten it out a little bit more. And so I'm going to go right ahead with this. And I'm going to put this down on here. Put my glue on here. And then I'll put this all together here. And I've got that cleanly on that side, and then I've got my pocket. Oh, you know what, I was going to tell you how I cut these. So this front flap is cut at 5 inches by 7 1/4, and I scored a 1/2 inch for the hinge for the flap, and then I rounded the edges with the large edge on my my corner rounder. And then for the pocket measures 2 1/2 by 8 1/4, and I score a 1/2 inch on either side and a 1/2 inch down here. Now the one thing that I did do is this is scored at a 1/2 inch, but this side actually I moved over 1/16 of an inch and scored it at a 1/2 inch would be what, 8/16, so 9/16 if you want to be exact. That's really what it would be. And then what I'm going to do is come along here and I'm going to miter these edges. And I'm going to miter these corners. And however you do it, it is just fine. You know, everybody kind of has a different way of mitering and scoring and all of that. So the reason why I did it at really the 9/16 is because I want this to be slightly smaller than our page. Not a lot, just slightly smaller, so that I can make sure that it fits and it isn't so tight up against this side when we're bending, when we bend our page. All right, so then this is going to go right down onto here, and I'm not going to put the scored edge over the page or anything. I'm putting it all down here. There's plenty of room in here for some small tags or a little bit larger tags or a booklet. So that goes into here, and then that'll come over to here. And like I said, I'm putting magnets in here. On this side of the page, this I'm just going to center. Or just eyeball center, I guess I would say. And put that down. Oops, I'm going to miter. There we go. Hope I'm not off camera. And then I'm just going to, like I said, I'm going to center it, and I will put it to the edge of this flap. There we go. And this is how we're going to do the rest of our pages. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to build them exactly this way. You could put another flap here, and if you wanted to center some cut-aparts. I don't really have a lot of cut-aparts in this collection, so I may have put one cut-apart down over the paper here and put a magnet on, and then that would have held that down there, or I could have done a smaller flap coming in this way. But because I don't really have a lot of ephemera cards or cut-aparts for this collection, I'm going to use those brads. So, and some of the cut-aparts to me will be a little bit small to be putting on a tag. So I can always go back and change what I'm doing, but for now, that's how these pages are going to look. And I will be back when we get one of them with pattern paper on, and we'll talk about what the rest of them will look like. So thanks, we'll see you in a little bit. Well, crafters, I'm back. I think this is going to be the strangest tutorial I've done. I thought I lost part of it, and then for some reason it showed up the next day, and so I'm going to have to watch through everything to make sure that I get everything accurate for you. So I'm going to show you right now what I've done for every single one of these pages. So for the booklet, each one of the booklets has a flap, and then I have 2 magnets there, 2 magnets here. You can get away with one big one. You don't have to do 2. I just wanted to do that. And there is a pocket here. This pocket is 2 inches, and that closes like that. And then on the back of here, I've got this flap, and it is big enough for a 4x6 photo on either side. So let's go and let me show you how I'm going to decorate everything. I'm actually going to start at the back of this and put this down. But before I put this down, what I'm going to use is my closure on here is from this pack of brads, and I am going to use this as our closure. So this was some brads that I had from Tim Holtz Ideology, Dapper Pimpin' something or other. It's just some that I had left, and I thought it would work well for this paper collection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down where I would put it on. Then I'd close this and get my pencil, and I am going to pretty much eyeball it. Not exactly, but let's just see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half. So 1, 2, 3. So let's just say right about here. And I'm just making a mark where I'm going to put that brad through. And I just take my notch and I notch that through. And then I'm going to put the brad through the paper like that. And I'm not going to tighten it overly tight because I still want it to be able to move for my page. So I'll do that, and then I'm going to grab some of my tape just to secure it a little bit further on the back of here. If you could see my desk, I'm such a messy crafter. Oh, but that's the way it is. So we're going to keep that just like that. And on the back of here, I will pull that backing off. And let's see if I got that. There we go. And then let's get our papers down. So most of this, I've cut most of it. There's some parts of it that I haven't cut, and we'll do that as we need to. And this is my art glitter glue, and I just use small amounts of it on my paper so that it does not leave marks. Excuse me. And then we've got that there for our paper collection. On the back of here, I am going to just put this onto the back. Looks like I'm going to have to cut off a little bit on here. I'm so sorry. So let me just make sure that this is going to, yes. So then we have this rounded on the back of here, and so I'm going to do the same thing. Gonna round those corners and put our glue on the back. And just leaving small edge of the burgundy cardstock. And then on the back of here, what we're actually going to put onto the back of here is our 4x6 photo piece. But in order to do that, I'm wondering, did I, you know what, let's come back to that one because I want to make sure I have all the other pieces cut here. And if I don't have that other piece cut, then I will cut it. So, all right. So what we're going to do is, this is cut for that front flap, and the paper for that is 4.5 by 7 1/8. And then we're also going to go ahead and we're going to round those corners with the larger corner rounder, because that's the same as what we had done on there. And everyone is, every page has the same type of, the page looks the same, but it has different papers from the collection. So we're going to put that down and around here. And then we'll open this up, and this is going to go on the bottom. And I believe this is 7 1/8. Yes, 7 1/8 and 1 7/8. And what is good about this is that I was able to, on most of it, cut the same size for everything as I went. So I could cut a lot of that out ahead of time and then just put it all together. All right, so that's for that. That's for that. And I think I am missing one. This is going to go down here. And this piece, oops, is 3 3/4 by 7 1/8. And actually, I think I'm going to do this side because of the pocket. And I think that that works a little bit better. I probably could have cut this one just a little bit bigger, but it'll work out just fine because of the pocket and how the pocket sets up with the paper. So if you want to have it going into the pocket a little bit more, then just cut it just a little bit wider here. But I think it works just fine. And then for the top up here, what we're going to do is put a belly band up here. And so what I did is I cut some paper so that I cut this paper. We didn't need to have it go all the way to the middle because the belly band is going across there. So I just needed to have enough to cover. Oh, that's a large one and a large one. So these are, all that you need to do is to cut this wide enough so that it goes underneath the belly band. But again, these are 7 1/8, 7 1/8. I rounded the corners on these. So it's very simple. You could probably make them, 1.5 inches wide. I just chose to use this a little bit wider. And if I had had enough, I probably would have covered the whole page. I just did not have enough of the leftover. I have remnants, but I don't have enough left over to just cover everything perfectly. Let me turn this around. So I want to try to line up these edges. And this again is probably about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, just so that it fits under the belly band. And our belly band is going to be a little bit different. I made it so that it does open up and that we can put some small pictures in the middle of that. So this is going to be our belly band, and it's going to go onto our page just like this. And we'll put some pattern paper over the top, but it will open up. And I am not putting a magnet or anything on there because of the fact that it closes down with a magnet when this flap closes. So we'll be just fine with it not flapping around. So let me put my, basically this is 3 inches. So this was cut at 7 1, I think, oh wait, sorry, it was cut at 7 1/8 by 6, and then scored in the middle, which made our flap. And I'm going to put their paper down onto this, so we're just making this 1/8 of an inch smaller so that we can cover the cover the belly band. So there will be able to put a card behind the belly band if you wanted to make a little booklet or a photo card, or if you had some ephemera, you could do that as well. So I'm going to put that down onto here. So we're going to just onto the back of this is do a small line of glue, and this will go onto the back of our flap here, and it will flap up a little bit when you open up, but that's perfectly okay, because when we close this closes down perfectly. So, and then this opens up and we can put a couple of photos through here. We can also put a photo mat down here. Photo mat can go into here as well. And we can do a photo mat, a 4x6 photo mat. I can collage some paper to the back, or see if I have some other papers left over. I think I've used, I've used almost every piece of my collection in this 8x8 Gentleman Fleur collection, and I'll show you what I've got left to put in there. The only thing that I really have left are these. So if I want to do, what do you call it, tags and photo mats, I will use and piece some of my leftovers together. I'll probably quilt the leftover pieces on the back, and or I don't know, we'll see. So that's why I added in some of the solid brown paper and made sure that I have something for photo mats. I do have some cut aparts that I'm going to add onto here that are from that are some metal items that I think I'll finish this off, but I just wanted this to be very, very simple, because for a guy, they don't need a lot to it. It just is easier for most guys to just figure it out that way. So, meaning that they don't need all the flips and flaps that a lot of us women like. So here on the back of here, what I'm going to do is I am just measuring how long this is. And I'm going onto here, marking this off, and let me tell you, this piece is, I would say it's 6.5 would be a good measurement, and I'm going to make these 1 inch wide, my cuts on these. So let me cut this. And I just want to make sure I cut this right. Yep. So then I'm going to cut, these are the length of this, and I'm going to cut each of these at 1 inch or a little more. If there's a little bit more there, you can cut it at a little more than 1 inch. It's not really going to hurt it, because what we're going to end up doing is we're going to put this one up here, and we're going to put this one down here. So I'm going to round this corner so that it matches my back piece here, and then that'll get glued down right there. I'm going to round this corner so that it matches that right on there as well, and that'll go across here. But before we do any of that, what I want to do is then also get some paper that will go down our sides here. And this can go all the way down, it can go part way down. I'm going to see if I can do this in half and see if that works for us. Okay, so what we'll end up doing is this will come down into here and under this piece, just so that I can make a frame out of it. I think it's got to go the other way. And the reason why I chose this paper was because it was closest in color to the tones in this paper. And I'll do the same thing over on this side. So I'm going to put these down first, and I'm going to put them in the middle. I'm just going to evenly put that in there. And then what I'll do is this will go over that and match up to where I have that paper on the edge of, like that. So there is a little bit of a lip there, but it's not so drastic. So then I'm going to also take, and I'll put this one on. You know what? Let me match this up though first. I want to make sure that I'm matching this up with the edge of this. So I want to make sure that I'm coming to about right there. And that should be pretty good. And then I'm going to take and put this one down so that we match up to there. glue that down. So that's going to be covered on all of that. Match that up, and then this side we'll do the same thing. I'm going to put this down so that it matches up with either side. If it's a little bit off, I mean, it's not gonna, you know, nobody's gonna look at it so closely that they're gonna say, oh, you're a millisecond, a millimeter or a 1/16 of an inch off. Get it as close as you can to being a perfect match. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take and put this so that it is framed in with that paper. All right. So we've got our 4x6, and this matting is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. So it's a little bit wider so that our photo can fit in the middle. And that's what we've got for our page. And we have 6 of these pages, and we're going to put these into our book. We have enough room for our spine over here, and then if we want to make a booklet or put more photo mats in here, we can put them into the middle of there. But let me just, I want to walk through and see. I think I'm going to do this. Do them this way, and those can go in. Really, one of the last things that I want to do with this, other than putting our pages in, is to put our pages on the inside and the outside of our book. Our book is 6 by 7 1/2. So I cut my solid paper, I double matted. My solid paper is cut at 5 7/8 by 7 3/8. And then my pattern paper is cut at 5 3/4 by 7 3/4. 7 1/4. And that's the same thing with the cover. So let's just put these in. They're double matted. You can see I double matted them with brown onto the back. And I am not putting a pocket or anything on these pages, so that it is open to put photos down on, or writing, journaling, if that's what would like to be done with this. And the reason why is because I've used most of my pattern paper. So I'm going to put this onto the back. And understand that I use most of my pattern paper because this is a 6-page book. Believe me, with the amount of pattern paper that you get, or designer paper you get in Country Craft Creations designer collections, this is wonderful because you can really get so much put together. And this is our 2 inside pockets. And then on the, oh my goodness, don't tell me, oh no, I didn't. I thought I did it upside down. I would not be happy. Oh my goodness. So our cover is going to be this gentleman on our cover. And I'm going to get him put on. He is double matted as well. And so we will get him on. I will not be putting any flowers on this whatsoever. I am not sure what I'm going to do to finish it off yet. I know I'm going to use probably some metal or some gears, but not doing flowers for sure. I may do a ribbon with the gears. I'm not really sure yet. And you know, the other side of it is sometimes simple is best. So we're going to put this one down for on here. And I did use a different brown cardstock on the cover than I did when I double matted on the inside. And the reason for that is because I was using up some of my brown cardstock that I had. And all on the cover it's all the same, and all on the inside it's the same. On the cover it's a little bit more of a sparkly, or not sparkly, but more of a different finish. It's a My Colors cardstock. And the cardstock that's on the inside is, I have some Joann's brown cardstock that I had gotten on a special buy. So I just used that for my inside. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to put these into our book, but we are going to be starting with the back and moving forward. So I am going to work on that next. Just want to see how we're doing here. And the first one is always the most critical to get on, because everything matches up with that, or should match up with that. And I am going to put my glue on both sides. And I'm going to open this up to put onto my hinge, and then the hinge itself, you make sure that you're not putting it on the hinge all the way down to the bottom of the page, because if you do that, you need to leave at least 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch so that it can bend. And the way that I find that does that most properly is by laying it down while it's on the hinge and you're gluing it on. So that's the way I find that it goes on the best. So I've got one down, and then this one I made a little bit of an accident when I was putting, so I have an extra piece of paper on there, but happy accidents, and it'll all be covered over when the photo goes on there. So sometimes those things just happen, and you know, I feel like you just got to roll with it. There we go. Just make this even. The other thing is if you're using glue versus tape, you know, just don't pull too much, because otherwise you're not going to get it glued down well. I don't like using the tape. It's too, don't have enough opportunity to move the pages around. So we'll get these on. And I have an anxious doggy behind me. I'm not sure if you hear him or not, but he sure wants to go out. He just went out, but again, he wants to go out again. So once I get these pages on, then we will come back and finish anything else off that needs to be finished. I think we'll be done here, and I think what I'll end up doing then is show you the covers or any of the decorating in the walkthrough. This will make a nice gift for Christmas, for birthdays, Father's Day. What'll be nice about it is that it's not too hard to knowing, you know, what flips up or down. It all works pretty much the same and makes it a lot easier for those that don't are not used to a photo album. And it will be a little bit thick. It'll lay flat to a certain extent, but because we've got so much in here, as well as these, it is going to be, it'll lay up a little bit. But there should be enough room for putting in photos and the like. I think I'm going to hold off on putting any kind of photo book or mat in my pages, just to kind of see where we end up with the way this lays down. Looks like it's laying down very well. All right, last but not least, you might ask why I use glue instead of tape, and that's just because of everything that I've read, that glue stands up better for longer term than tape does. That tape, after a while, depending upon your climate, does dry out. And so I choose to use glue wherever I need to adhere things. And I guess time will tell, you know, how well I do. So there is our album. I've got that. And so it lays pretty flat. It's not too bad. And there still is room to put things in there. You can see that. And looks like our pages are almost perfectly square, which I'm very happy about because I want to make sure they stay square. All right, so this is primarily how putting this together, decorating it. Anything that I do to it for the decorations, I will show you on the walkthrough, which will be at the front of this tutorial. And I will see you again real soon. Thanks so much for spending time with me and doing this tutorial with me. And please don't forget, this is from Country Craft Creations. It's called Gentleman Fleur. As far as the paper collection, it's beautiful. It's just gorgeous. Can be used for a gentleman's book, or you know what, it could just be used for a vintage book in and of itself. Thanks so much and have a wonderful day. I really appreciate the time you spent with me. Bye.